This is ContactTalkRadio.com, consciousness in action, and you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Ping.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Ready to expand your mind, your heart, and your life? Are you ready for deeper relationships, more passion, less stress, and a whole lot more fun? Are you ready to lead a life you love and set the tone for others to watch you and learn? Then it's time for Terri Britt's Leading with Love, pioneering change for our families and the world. Spend the next hour with your host, spiritual coach, healer, inspirational speaker, author, and former Miss USA, Terri Britt.
Hello, everyone. I am Terri Britt, and I am so thrilled to be talking to this gentleman we're going to be talking to today because I love meditation. You guys hear this show all the time, and I talk about meditation and energy and vibration, and it's my life. I am a spiritual junkie because I live it and breathe it. And so to be able to talk to someone who is bringing more of that information out into the world and making it easier for us is very exciting. So I have a question for you, and I'm guessing that if you're listening to the show, you probably do meditate a little bit. And if you don't, then I want to invite you to do so. But if you do you feel that it's enough to shift your life? Or do you find that meditation is just a part of a bigger practice? For me, I've been meditating since the 90s, and it's how I began my spiritual journey. You guys have heard my story, I think, where I was walking around angry all the time and just wanted to drop kick my husband and kids out of the house. So I made some shifts. But what I've found over the years is that meditation is a key element, but it's not the only element to living a fulfilled and mindful life. Well, my guest this week, Steve Sekhon, feels the same. He's one of the creators of the new Vibe app, which I have been playing with, and I love it, you guys. This is so cool. I think you're going to be really excited to learn about it. But let me tell you about Steve first. He's been meditating, doing soul searching and personal inquiry for nearly 35 years, and he's now collaborated with his partner to write daily messages that explore what it takes to live joyfully in peace. And boy, we need this right now, right? I mean, our world, let's make sure everybody gets this app. So their approach combines psychology, metaphysics, the Western mystical tradition, and Eastern practices. So it's a little bit of everything for many people. He also draws from his earlier work as an international urban planner when he worked in Cambodia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, I hope I said that right, and Southern Sudan. And he says these experiences helped him realize that each person is fundamentally free to make choices regarding his own perception and interpretation of events. In other words, we all have a choice as to how we experience life, right? And so his goal, from what I can gather from looking at this Vibe app, is that he brings an awareness to us so that we can experience life in a more joyful, peaceful way, in a way that is easier for us, that we are reminded daily throughout the day that to take a moment and connect and to be mindful. So I'm thrilled to have Steve with us and to learn about him and to learn about the Vibe app and how he feels it will help you on your spiritual journey. So please welcome Steve Sekhon. Hey, how are you, Steve? Are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited. And, I never know when someone's coming on the show. I get a lot of authors and a lot of teachers and healers and speakers, that kind of thing. But I've never really actually had someone who is coming on to promote this kind of product. So at first I was, if I'm being really honest, I was like, I'm not sure, because it's not really a show about promotion so much, but it's a show about enlightening our listeners. And then as I started looking at this, and I went, wow, this is so cool because you are enlightening so many people with this app in a way that is easy and very mindful. So would you tell our listeners what exactly the app is and what your vision is for it?
Sure. Thank you again for having me here. The app is really just a tool. All it is a tool to try and reach into ourselves in a convenient way that syncs with how our lives work in modern times. And for me, as much as I can see the potential downside of using my phone all the time, I do always carry my phone. Even if I leave my wallet somewhere, I will always have my phone. I'm checking my calendar or my email, or I'm texting with somebody. So the general reason that we created an app really was recognizing that that's an interesting and powerful way to gain entry and access people's attention. We read our emails, we read books, we listen to the radio, we watch television, and we look at our phones. And more, it's kind of a mobile world where we're looking to our phones for so much of what we consume. And what I mean is, it's not just consuming products and services, but it's also consuming information, and by extension, not just information, but also habits and consciousness. So the vibe really. I mean, we are, whether we're recognizing it or doing it intentionally or not. And the Vibe is an app which is designed to take advantage of the way that we all use our phones in modern times, and kind of, I don't want to say infiltrate, because it almost sounds like it's not intentional, but the idea is really to promote a kind of mindfulness in a way that is consistent with the way we live our lives. So what is the app? The app is a relatively simple vibe. One of the truths of access to information, and almost limitless access to information, is that we can be inundated. We have selected so many newsletters that we get, and maybe magazine or newspaper subscriptions, or maybe we even take courses, or we get quotes, or there are so many things that whatever our interest is that we have access to, and maybe we've even signed up for. And the Vibe is one of the key ideas behind the Vibe is to dial that down a little bit. So the idea is that we receive a short message first. And the message has to do with consciousness. What is standing between us and greater peace? What is standing between us and greater happiness? So each message, each day, a message will come into your app, and it'll be relatively short, a paragraph. It should take less than a minute to read, maybe 30 seconds to read. And then subsequently during the day, you'll receive a gentle nudge or a ping, depending on how you set it up in the app, which will remind you of that message. And that subsequent message will just be a very short, it'll almost be like a mantra or a short prayer or an affirmation or something that just keys you in psychologically to what that message was earlier in the day. And that can be, and it shows up on your iPhone or your Android as a notification, just the way a text message will kind of drift down from the top of your screen. So you could just glance at it. It can be with sound or without, and you can glance at it, and it kind of keys you back into that basic concept that was covered in the message of that day. So the idea is for that to show up throughout your day, at different points throughout your day, while you're living your ordinary life. Meditation is powerful, and meditation is important because it kind of gets you into a state where you clear out, ideally, where you clear out the chatter in your mind. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of like, you go to a cushion in a quiet room and you create a space for it, and you kind of prepare yourself by eliminating the different aspects that might interrupt your ability to clear out your mind, things that might distract you and agitate you. And this is a little different because what it does is it tries to drift in that message during your day while you're leading your normal life, while you may be experiencing stress. And in that way, it kind of, our idea is that it integrates in a different fashion from the rarefied activity of meditation.
I have to tell you, first off, I was laughing when you were talking about it, and y'all probably heard me giggle and going, why is she giggling when you were talking about how we carry our phones around? I'm like, yeah, I find myself, because I work out of my home, I find myself carrying my phone from room to room, and then you're going to just think this is gross, too much information. I'm sitting on the toilet reading my phone. I mean, how many of us do that? Okay?
I know. I'm raising my hand right now.
It's like an appendage.
Yeah,
it's a freaking appendage.
Yeah.
And
it's an addiction.
It is an addiction, and it's one thing that it's like, oh my gosh, I just want to set this down. But I have to tell you, I started playing with this, and we're going to share more about what you find on the app, but you can choose different leaders that you follow. And I was playing with different ones. And then you can even put your time frame on how often you want to get your first ping. Mine, I think I chose was every 4 hours.
Right.
And so ironically, this is what I love about spirit and mindfulness is I'm working right now on really loving my body. My body has been one of my biggest teachers and physical issues that I've had through the years. And so I've really been working on keeping my vibration up, not getting caught up when my hip goes out again or my got whatever, just the stuff that we deal with as we get older.
Sure.
And so I've been really turning up the dial on my vibration of holding the vision that I'm healthy. I've started playing pickleball, if anybody knows what that is, and just, trying to get more and more active. I've been doing yoga, but I wanted something that would make me sweat and get out there, be kid-like and playful and beating a ball, right?
Right.
And so I've been holding this vision. Well, ironically, this morning, I was going through your different thought leaders, and I came across one on Course in Miracles. And I love this. And I didn't study Course in Miracles, but everybody tells me my work is just like the Course in Miracles. So it was just all downloaded for me. So anyway, I'm sitting in there and I'm reading about it, and it's talking about the body. And I thought, well, how cool is that? Because I didn't pick something that said body. It was just that was the message that I chose for the day, and it just happened to be about the body.
Yeah.
And then as I went through the day and the first ping came, it was such a cool reminder. And it was, I can't remember what exactly it said. It was something about, I took it as like being kind to the body, no judgment.
Right.
And I don't remember the word for word now, but I thought that is such a nice reminder. I love that. It was one sentence.
Yes.
And it spoke to me. And what I love about it, I'm very excited about using this. And because I do carry my phone everywhere into the toilet, I'm very excited about using it, right? And just because you gave the option, so you can share with them about your thought leaders that you bring in and how that works into this whole app. But I love the fact that I could choose between them. And if I clicked on one and it wasn't really resonating for me, I could go back and change it and see who do I want to follow. And that's kind of what I did. I did it with a couple of different people. And it was like, that's not really hitting true for me today. I'm going to hit this one. I was just kind of listening to my intuition. And I hit the Course in Miracles one, and boom. And then after that, I went into meditation and had this huge meditation. I had this amazing vision, and it was all tied to this. I mean, it was so divine that I really felt like this was something that you guys were bringing onto the planet to really help people get in sync with that. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's great.
How's that for a commercial for you?
That's fantastic. What a testimonial. I love that. That is fantastic. So first of all, the one you read today, the title of the post was "Forgiving Our Bodies," and then the short sentence was, "Let me not make my body my enemy today," which I thought was like that's a nice, the first post is 100 words or less, and it's written by Jerry Jampolsky, Jerry and Diane Cirincione. And Jerry was the author of Love is Letting Go of Fear, which was a big book. I think it was written in the 70s. And he also founded the Center for Attitudinal Healing, which there are centers all over the world. I think there are 35 in China and many in Africa and Asia. And they are fantastic, these two. They're wonderful people and they're bright lights. And so the thought of that, the fact that it hit home is, I think all of these authors who, are thought leaders, they're heavies and they're people who walk their talk. They're all kind of talking about universal truths, filtered through, of course, their own conditioning and their point of view, but they're kind of universal truths. So if you find a voice that you like, you are likely to resonate with a lot of what you see on the daily post. Because let's face it, we are all in the human condition, and there aren't that many issues that there are different permutations, but we're dealing with a lot of the same stuff, like body and, self-esteem and self-worth and, and little mental loops that we find ourselves getting stuck in, and letting go of resistance and letting go of anger. And, there are themes that can be articulated and solutions that can be articulated in different ways. And that's one of the cool things about the app, I think, is that there are 7 and going on 12 or 13 different authors. We have a lot of different authors that are kind of in the pipeline. So you sign up for the app, and it's basically a subscription. It costs $2.99 a month, and you can choose from any of these different channels, and you can change them at will. And you get access to the daily post and the regular reminders. And then each of these authors is in the process of building a library of guided meditations that will also be available to you to listen to if you have a little bit more time. But I just love that you...
So were there guided meditations? Because I only saw one today. Was there? Did I miss that?
No, well, so the way it's set up right now, and and part of our constraint is quite honestly is just that we haven't had an opportunity or the resources to fund every bell and whistle that we would like to have on the app. So we're moving slowly. We have it operational, but one of the things we would like to have is a library of meditations for each of the authors that's on the Vibe, so that you can just scroll down to the length and the subject matter of the meditation you want. It's like letting go of anger, or resetting your frame of mind, or maybe generating enthusiasm, or switching the alchemy of changing from a negative perspective to a positive one. Whatever it is, whatever it might be, those would be something that myself and my wife Jarl those are the type of meditations that we would produce. And we're actually working on them right now, and they would be different lengths. So there might be a 2-minute meditation, a 5-minute meditation, and a 10-minute meditation, or they could be any length, any one of those lengths. And that's a little different. That's kind of like an extra, because the essential method of the Vibe, the idea that we had of the Vibe is that meditation and mindfulness, the whole idea behind those activities, prayer, meditation, mindfulness, is to get yourself into a state of mind. And it does help to get to do something deeper where you can really lock yourself into a vibration, and meditation is great for that. But you also need so much of it is reminding ourselves what we already know. And that's, why does one channel speak to you more than another channel? It's because they're speaking with a voice that's reminding you of the wisdom that you already have, or that we already have. And when you click into that wisdom, then you get into a space that we all know we can be in that space. And we all, but sometimes we slip, we slip out of, maybe we get pulled by, we're not conscious in the moment, and we kind of turn the corner. We have a reaction to a situation, or even a thought in our own head. It doesn't even have to be something external. We have a reaction to that, and we've gone down a rabbit hole, and the rabbit hole can be anything. It can be regret. Oh, yeah. It can be longing. It can be fear. It can be anxiety. It can be any of those things. So we thought that, just these little short pings and these short reminders, and then the easy ability to glance at something that speaks to you in your voice in a really short format can be like an instant pivot, and you can just pivot out of space that you might not want to be in. So that's
I love that, because I think we get stuck in our habits. And I know I was reading on your site, and you were talking about that, because I talk about that with my clients a lot, that we oftentimes it's like, you've done a lot of the work. It's just getting out of the old habit of going back to that place where it takes you into that rabbit hole. Right. And what's so cool about this is, you were mentioning on the website when I was doing my research, is about neuroplasticity. And we now know in the brain that we can have these thought patterns and think that this is the way life is, but we have the ability to change them now. And that's called neuroplasticity. Now, we can change the way we respond to things, right? And by reprogramming our brain. And that's what you essentially are doing with this, by getting these little pings throughout the message. It's a reminder to reprogram your brain, right? Am I correct in interpreting that right?
Yes. No, that is exactly right. It's exactly right. I mean, it's almost as if the goat paths on the side of the hill, they're not carved in a day. So when you go off road and you start carving a new path, it's good to have a little bit of repetition. It's good to carve that path regularly. You do it in different seasons and different times of day and night, and that then becomes your groove, your preferred path to walk on. And the question to ask ourselves is, are we happy with the paths we're walking on? Do they work for us? Do they keep us in joy? Do they keep us in peace? Do they keep us happy? Basically, the essential thing. Do they keep us in harmony with the people that we have relationships with in our life? And I think that there's a continuum from, extremely unhappy to, I don't even know, limitless, right? And there's always room for dropping resistance and dropping the negativity, and dropping self-judgment and dropping judgment of others. There's always more room to excel on that path. I always, in terms of the habit, I always think of such an easy one for Americans is driving, because almost all of us drive. And I think of how, and people have different perspectives about what is acceptable behavior in driving. And, if somebody does something that you don't like and you're unconscious, then you can have a reaction. You can have an immediate reaction. It can be, it can just be something that happens in your head, or it can be calling them a name, or if you're really triggered, you might even, do something, a physical gesture.
Flip them a bird.
Exactly. You might even flip them a bird, which then just creates a whole nother level of, you're creating a whole another level of sorrow for yourself, because then they might react and they might not even be aware that they've done something. And then they react back like, how dare you do that to me? And then they flip you the bird back. And then you've accelerated and, increased the unnecessary reaction. And I compare that with driving in a country like India, where the rule is chaos, and you can't possibly drive around admonishing people and flipping everybody the bird who doesn't drive according to the way you want, because you'll be exhausted. And plus, you need to pay attention to the road, because everybody's
you'll
just
carpal tunnel of your
you'll have carpal tunnel for flipping the bird. Unbelievable. And you'll feel terrible. You'll be so wound up. So what you have to do is you just have to deal with the situation at hand and not trip about it. So you have to not have reactions, because you know what? That's the way they drive there in India. So you just do the reactions. And then you realize, this is me speaking by myself. Then I realize that I don't need to have the reaction at all anyway, because the emotional reaction is not helping me cope with the situation. All I have to do is, adjust my driving to take into consideration the situation. I don't need to have that whole other level of reaction. And so, reminding myself in driving is like a personal practice of mine. It's like, just be chill. If somebody does something, just avoid the problem. Don't ever try and get somebody's eye contact and let them know that you disapprove or you're angry at something they did, And if somebody looks at me, so one of the things about having something regular like that, since I drive, to do that when I'm driving, is that it really gets into my consciousness about my power to be able to choose how I'm going to react to all kinds of phenomena in my life, right? And the app is kind of just an extension of that concept of that. It pings you to remind you, hey, look, let's not make an enemy of my body today, right? It's just a reminder.
Yeah.
If you resonated with that thing, it drops into your awareness a couple times a day in a pretty light way. And it seems simple, but it's powerful.
Well, it was so funny when that message came in, the ping. I was driving back from my chiropractor, and it was so interesting because I had gone. I live in the mountains of Georgia, and I see a very specialist chiropractor for the Atlas of the Brain, and I'll go to Atlanta, which is an hour and a half away. So I thought, okay, while I'm up here and living in these mountains, maybe I could find someone who could just do, like when my hips go out of a whack, my muscles I can bend my fingers backwards across my hand. My muscles are a little weird.
Wow.
And, so I just thought, I'll go to this chiropractor here locally and see what happens. Well, not a good choice. And he was very rough and messed up my back. So I ended up going back to my chiropractor today, who is kind and gentle, right? The way he does everything is very loving and nurturing. And I knew that it was the right choice. It's like, it's worth the hour and a half there, an hour and a half back to get this kind of loving, nurturing adjustment that really caters to my being.
Yes.
And then that came in, don't make it the enemy of, make your body an enemy or whatever, however it was worded. And I thought, how perfect is this? I mean, this is like divine timing. But I have to tell you, I think I need to, on the driving thing, because my husband to this day will say, for one of the most spiritual people I've ever known, you completely are not spiritual when you're driving.
Right. Isn't it a good arena for all of us, for many people? That's so true.
When somebody gets on my road and they're tailgating me and it's dangerous, I'm like, I will slow down just to show, no, do not. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm being of service to you. I'm showing you that you need to slow down, but that's not really what's going on, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe a little of both. Maybe a little of both. I have to plead guilty to those types of maneuvers myself, I have to say.
One of my girlfriends, we were talking about this week, and she's very spiritually minded too, and we were both talking about driving and how we react.
Isn't it funny? It's so funny. I mean, maybe part of it is that the driving, you feel like the consequences can be serious, if not in life or limb, then at least an expense and pocketbook. And you feel like, how dare you, potentially, because it's usually, 99.9% of the times nothing happens, right? So it's how dare you potentially, cause me great inconvenience and expense. And then, anger arises, like, that's outrageous, just because you want to go faster or whatever, or because you're oblivious. But it's interesting how much of our reactions, how much of our emotional and psychological life is completely as a result of our story. It doesn't really have, our condition really has so little to do with the external circumstances. We are capable of, experiencing great joy for no reason, no apparent reason, and experiencing great sorrow for the same. And it's just,
that's what I loved about your bio. And because you were it talks about that you were in Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Cambodia and Southern Sudan, and you learned. Did you see that a lot with people over there? Because these are places that are in bad space for a lot of them, right? I don't know how Cambodia is now, but Bosnia Herzegovina is aren't they a war-torn country?
They were when I was there. In fact, I was there on a rebuilding, reconstruction project when I was a urban planning consultant, and we did international work. And what you see is the variety of reactions to some very harsh stuff. Same in Cambodia. Cambodia now is, in far better shape. But the Khmer Rouge were there, and there were mass killings, and people had just been trauma. You could say national trauma in all of these places, same in Southern Sudan. And what you learn is that, and also even in India, in terms of the difference between psychological state and emotional well-being and external physical circumstances, it's like people can have been through the same or even harsher circumstances and have a completely different reaction to that reality, it's that so-called reality. Right. Some people can have just very, seemingly insignificant things happen to them, and it can just set them into a tailspin. And others, depending on how, and it's what I would call healthy, depending on how healthy their way of interfacing with reality is. Right. If you can go, and so much of that is a choice. It's like, I see that the way and it has to do with the stories we tell ourselves. Like, what is the story? What is the story that I'm going to tell myself? And it's really apparent when you go to some place where there's devastation, to see that some people are able to. It's in no way justifying the conditions in those places, but I'm just saying that our liberty and our freedom and our agency has to do with our ability to weave a story, to tell a story that not only supports us in navigating reality, but also supports us in, feeling good about life, right? It's not
absolutely.
So you don't do one without the other. It's not just, close your eyes, put the blinders on, bury your head in the sand, but you do consciously engage with the narratives that you tell yourself about what's happening. And that makes a difference.
It does make a difference. And that's what I love about having these little, not only the messages in the morning, but the pings throughout the day, because we can get, I think as our daily lives go on and we're busy, and just daily life, right? And nothing like what these folks were living in, or what we're seeing right now with the fires in California, Michael that just came through the Panhandle with the hurricane. You know, a lot of times during those kinds of situations, you'll actually see people come to the place of going, I'm alive. And so they find a sense of gratitude. And then there's a sense of unity that comes together. My hometown was blown away by tornadoes when I was a kid, a teenager. And that's what I saw. I witnessed is people coming together. So a lot of times you can find it, but it's in our day-to-day stuff, I think, that where we just get caught up and like on the road and somebody cutting you off and it just ruining your day. What I feel that what you're doing here is so wonderful, because like I did today driving, luckily I was not ticked off at anybody, but that ping came through just at a time when it was the ideal time for me. And I I've got them at 4 hours right now. I may do it a little less. I may do more, probably may do them more frequently. I can't remember how frequent you could have them.
I think you can do it. You can do it every hour if you like. But you have to you probably have to play with it and see if, what suits you, what really suits you. What really rings true. And that was divine. I just felt like it was all divine timing and how it was unfolding. But I think it's so important that this is one of the things that I see, because, I do a lot of coaching of women, and we get so caught up in our day-to-day stuff that, when you come to a group healing, session that we do, you're there and you're present. But a lot of times between those sessions, we go backwards. I feel like we kind of go down that backward spiral of not really paying attention, not being the observer, not watching how we're interacting, not keeping our vibrations up, because that's what this is about, is keeping our vibrations up. Exactly.
And so when you have a tool like this, what I feel is that it can keep you in a mindful state, so that every single day, at your discretion of however many times you want to be pinged, that you can be reminded to come back to center.
Exactly.
And over the years, I've done that for myself, right? I've had to bring myself back to center, recognizing when I'm going down a rabbit hole, bringing my vibration back to center. I mean, I've been doing energy work for 20-something years. And so, but it was always me doing it by myself, right?
Right.
And so I think that this kind of tool that you're bringing, especially where we are on our planet right now, where people are craving peace, they're craving to have a sense of something that will feed them in a positive way rather than a negative way.
Right.
That is at their fingertips, is a really powerful service you're providing with this.
Thank you.
And I just want to commend you guys for doing that. But I do want you guys, the listeners, you are listening right now, that think about this. For you, we've talked about, driving on the road. Okay, we're both confessing here. And but what about you? Are you finding yourself daily wishing that you could be a little bit more mindful? I have people, Steve, tell me all the time, gosh, Terri, you just do this every single day. And I said, it was a choice. I made a choice to do this every day because I didn't like where I was in the past.
Right.
And so, and the more I do what I do, the more joyful I am. So I choose that because it feels so dang good. Right.
Right.
But it's about creating a habit. And we were talking about earlier about breaking habits. So what's interesting about this is that you're giving people an opportunity to create new habits, that are really positive. And I think that is something that, you really want to pinpoint here, is that this is a way to create a new habit for yourself that is going to feed your soul.
That's fantastic. You know what? I would like to employ you, if I can afford you, to write marketing copy for us, because you because you nailed it. That is so clutch. And I think that, my wife teaches Tai Chi and has been a practitioner for decades, and I've been doing it for 20 years myself too. And one of the things that you really get when you do any kind of somatic meditative thing and energy is that it's experiential, that the real ahas and it's not when you drop out of your mind and into your body, when you embody the new practice, when you're actually living it, because we can all read books and we can, and as I mentioned earlier, I think that we all have a deep well of internal wisdom that we are, more or less frequently tapping into. And but you can recognize something as being true. You can recognize the wisdom of something, and you still may not embody it. It still may not be part of your daily practice, right? You're at the place where you're sure it's right, but that's not integrated into your everyday life. And somatic stuff like Tai Chi, when you understand balance, when you understand that things pendulum back and forth from side to side, when you understand that you can maintain and hold your center even when you're extending out to one direction. Those are just words and concepts when I speak them, but when you understand it in your body, then you can even interface with reality and see that if things aren't going the way you view them, that you think they should be in the world, you can understand things like that's because the pendulum is swinging back and forth. And I'm not just talking about politics or any one specific arena of life. That's just what happens. Things move in cycles, things pendulum back and forth, and things pass. This too shall pass. Stasis is not, stasis is kind of like it's like an apparition. It doesn't really exist. Things are constantly in flux. We're constantly in flux. Our chemistry is in flux. Our activity, how much sleep we've had, who we've interacted with, our vibrations in flux, and having these messages, just like I feel like Tai Chi is such a deep vault of teaching for me. But just like Tai Chi, when you can get these basic essential truths about life, and you can get them in different aspects and different moves and different days and different elements of Tai Chi, it's just kind of the same idea of these pings that you get. You get them in different moods, different times of day, different ideas that are running through your heads, different vibrations, and they just kind of just pop in for a brief second, just a little pop. And we feel like the subtlety and the simplicity of it shouldn't be confused with the powerfulness of it. So that's kind of we feel like it's the integration, like this little popping in, and in a kind of an inoffensive way. It's not trying to preach. It's like something you chose. You can switch the channel. So we're hoping that it really turns into something that is as valuable for the users as these types of tools have been for us.
I love that. Isn't that what you want? Is when something works for you, you just want to share it, right? You just want to look.
Yeah.
It works for me. It will work for you.
Exactly.
Listen, we got to go to a break, and then we're going to come back. And when we come back, I want to talk about the importance of integration, because you were just talking about it a little bit, and because that's the whole point of this, right? When I opened up the show, we were talking about mindfulness and meditation, and is there more that's needed? And you just touched on it a little bit about the integration. I want to dive a little bit more into that, because I think that is so key to making mindfulness a way of life rather than just hitting and missing with it. So we're going to go to break for just a moment, and we will come back and dive further into that conversation. So stay with us. I'm Terri Britt, and this is Leading with Love. We'll be back in just a moment.
Is life feeling a little chaotic? Want to get off of the hamster wheel of stress and struggle? If you're ready for an energetic shift and want more peace, balance, and happiness every single day, I, your host, Terri Britt, have the perfect tool for you. It's called Grounding in God's Light from my CD Message Sent. This guided meditation is set to beautiful music and raises your vibration so you feel connected, loved, and nurtured. And as you do, you'll face each day with a smile on your face and be the calm in the storm. And it's free. Go to www.terribritt.com/grounding to grab yours now. Once again, get Grounding in God's Light free meditation, my gift to you, at www.terribritt.com grounding.
Welcome back to Leading with Love. I'm Terri Britt, and I am talking to Steve Sekhon, and we are talking about the Vibe app. We were just talking about how important it is for us to change our habits, to have tools that will help us move into a mindful state every single day of our life, so it's not just hit and miss. And it was interesting, Steve, because I said, before we went to break, I said I wanted to talk about integration, but I have to tell you a story. This was so funny, and this was something that I think I can remember it like it was yesterday. It was about, 25 years ago, 20-something years ago. I was in a class, an energy healing class, and we were talking about the higher self, which is the wisdom, right, is our inner knowingness. And we were looking at the higher self that is above our heads, this golden ball of light. And I remember, this is so funny, I remember saying, well, I just want it to be in my body. And I remember visually trying to pull this higher self down into my body, and it wouldn't come. It was like, nope, you got to walk the journey. And, and so it has been a practice of every single day just going deeper and allowing myself to evolve into living a mindful way of life. I know what you're doing here is you're trying to help people integrate it. For you, I want to hear a little bit about your story. How have you integrated over the years?
Well, let's see, how far back to go. So I grew up, I don't want to bore you. So I think that I originally, my mom got into meditation when I was quite young. She and I felt I was a little turned off by it. I felt like it was probably just a kid's reaction to something his mom's really into. So I had a little bit of a, maybe a judgment or a non-acceptance of it. And then after high school, I applied to college and decided to take a year off. So saved up some money, and I was going to go to India first and then go to France and spend a ski season in France, and my with self-earned money. But my mom had been interested in an ashram, like a spiritual community in South India. And she suggested that I enroll in a rock climbing class in the Himalayas with an age range from 10 years below my age, not 10, maybe 8 years below my age to 10 years above my age. And so there was like a ropes course and, climbing rock faces. And then we went backpacking and trekking in the Himalayas for a couple of weeks. And every morning at 4:30, we would wake up and we would do a meditation. And one of the things that that trip did for me, aside from introducing me to, maybe 20 people that I still know today, that was in 83. So that's a long time ago, 35 years ago. Mm-hmm. One of the things it did is it took away, I just saw these, kids that were cool, that I liked, that I had been doing this activity with, that just didn't really have any story around meditation. They would just sit down and sometimes it was guided, sometimes it was just watching your breath. They would just do the meditation. And so what that did for me is it took meditation out of the category of odd or weird. It didn't have, it's much more, I would say, every day now. It's much more accepted, not considered some sort of exotic Eastern activity way it was back then. So that was my first experience of meditation, and it took it into the realm of something that was interesting. Not that I had a regular practice at all after doing that, but it took it out of the world of something that was weird to something that was, normal for some people and even kind of cool. Mm-hmm. And then after college, fast forward through college, my girlfriend and I, our big plan after graduating from college was to save some money and travel through Asia. And she was thinking about going to law school, and she was working at a publishing company that published law books, and she knew a bunch of lawyers. And one of the lawyers, this is in Berkeley, California, one of the lawyers said, when you go to Thailand, you should go do this meditation retreat. It's a Vipassana retreat, and you should check it out. It's a fantastic retreat. It's taught by a couple, the guy, I think one is Australian, one is American. And I was like, okay, whatever. I was kind of driving the trip in, some of the other destinations, and she was like, I really want to do this. And so I wouldn't say begrudgingly, but it wasn't part of my plan of the trip.
Mm-hmm.
So the meditation was walking, standing, sitting meditation for 10 to 12 hours a day. You're not supposed to look in anybody's eyes. You're not supposed to talk. You're not supposed to do any kind of other activity. So it's a real, extreme, I would say, just in terms of schedule and demandingness, like to not talk. I mean, that's an abrupt change, and I don't know, we were 21 and I was, very, I would say hyper. Yeah, I would say energetic or hyper, and talkative. And so by the end of the course, I had a conversation with my girlfriend, and she was really turned off from it. And for me, I was sold. I was like, I love this. I want to do more of this. I thought it was such a gift to be able to do that huge of a chunk and to really turn off the other distractions, to allow your mind to calm down over that length of period of time. It's like a luxury that few of us get to have. So then later on in the trip, when we got to India, I did several other meditation retreats, and then I continued to do meditation retreats, and it became part of my life. It became part of my my life journey to continue to meditate, quiet the mind, but also just to kind of read books about consciousness and about personal awareness and how that affects how we feel, and the idea of our vibration, and the idea of how we engage with life. The way we engage with life is we can modulate that, that we actually have a choice. We're not just stuck with a perspective or a particular way of being. They're just like in meditation, the Vipassana meditation is all about awareness with non-reaction, right? So the idea is that are you familiar with Vipassana meditation? Do you mind if I...
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So the basic conceit of Vipassana meditation was that, and this was, supposedly the technique that Buddha used, like without any dogma whatsoever. The idea is that as we go through reality, we encounter experiences, and we register those experiences on, of course, the psychological level. But there's also a deeper level, and it's like a physical level that we register those experiences. And you could even call it, on a level of musculature, but in our bodies, we register these experiences, and the degree to which those experiences stick with us, the degree to which we have baggage over those experiences, are the degree to which we react with either craving or aversion. So we either want more of something good, or we want less. We really want something less of something we don't want. So, and the extreme version of something we don't want is trauma. Like, when something really bad happens to us. So the description of it is that, an experience can be like a finger running through water, where eventually the water becomes placid again, or a finger running through sand, where, you create a little crevice of a valley in the sand, but eventually it can blow flat again. The sand will level out again and it clears up. Or it could be like stone. If it's some sort of deep emotional experience, it's like carving a line in stone. So, and the interesting thing about this was that it's not the experience, it's not the external phenomena, it's our reaction to it. It's our interplay of us and the experience. And the way that you clear those experiences from your consciousness is by so that those experiences are psychological, but they're also deeply embedded in your body. So, but if you think about those experiences like in ideas and words in your mind, there's very little ground to stand on. You can just keep on cycling around again and again and repeating those experiences and, deepening, almost adding energy to the experience that you had. But if you focus on the body, the idea is that every sensation that you experience in your body, when you're paying attention to it, when your mind is focused exclusively on the body, as sensations arise, you're just supposed to notice them because it's important to pay attention to what happens. But then you're just, the idea is to allow them to just be. So you don't grab a hold of them, you don't try and run away from them, and you just allow them to be. So they rise and they pass away. So that's like a cleaning process. The idea is that you have complete awareness and you have complete non-reaction. So you're choosing to be able to experience reality. I mean, and the idea is that eventually off the meditation cushion as well, that you will be able to see, experience, and you'll be totally clued in and aware of what's happening, but you're just not going to be in a reactive state. You're not going to have these huge reactions, and it's not turning into a zombie. It's just elevating your ability to witness with awareness and basically not pile on more baggage. So, like when we're in the car driving and you see somebody do that, you just kind of calmly put the foot on the brake and maybe, put your blinker on and switch lanes. And instead of going, instead of going into a tirade of expletives, right? Ending with the flipping the bird on your journey to carpal tunnel. Yeah.
I call what you described with that meditation is neutrality. Right. And for me, because you're getting to a space of neutrality. And it's so funny because I can be really good about it. Somebody can do something, say something, and I'll just go into a complete state of neutrality. I'll look at them, and I didn't used to. I want to go to battle. But, after a lot of work, but now I can look at them and go, oh, they're in their pain. They're in their pain story, whatever. But for whatever reason, I just have not been doing it on the road very much.
Right. Well, that's like a, what is it? It's a free behavior zone or something, and people also, we're in our bubble. We're in our bubble in the car or whatever. So that's so funny. That's so funny.
It is funny. So we have about 4 minutes left. So tell people how they can get the Vibe app.
Oh, okay. So the Vibe app is available in the Google Play Store, and it's also available on iTunes. And you always have a free week to try it out. So you sign up for it, and you get 7-day free trial. So you can bop around the different channels. You can see who strikes you, who you resonate with, and try it out and see how it works for you in your life. It's $2.99 a month after the first week. And there are going to be an increasing number of, I would call them, thought leaders in mindfulness and meditation and spirituality. And I think it's worth giving it a try. I think it resonates with the modern lifestyle. And I think that it's just light enough that it can touch you in a way that's deep, but also doesn't require any kind of huge commitment. I mean, I think it is really an app that is consistent with the modern lifestyle.
I think so too. And your website, I thought, was very, very well done, and it's simple to the point, but it explains exactly what you're about, the method, why you do what you do. So if you guys want to check out the website just to get more information, because you can also get the app there, right?
Yes, you can.
Is it vibe.me? Is that what it is?
Yes, it's www.vibe.me. Yeah.
.me, and so like M-E.
M-E, yeah.
Vibe Go ahead, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say vibe me.
So can they find it on iTunes? Because my producer is sending me a message right here and say, can they find it on the iTunes app?
Yes, it's in iTunes for Apple, for iPhones, and it's also in the Google Play Store. So sometimes.
So what is it called in those? Because is it a different name? Is it The Vibe?
You can find. I mean, you might have to scroll more if you did Vibe, but I think it's The Vibe in the iTunes store. Okay. And we're fairly fresh, so you might have to scroll a little bit more. It's a picture. It's a green square with a lighter color butterfly in it, and that's the image of the app.
I know, because I think when I was doing some search on it, I came across something called Vibe, and it was not your stuff. And then I noticed it was called The Vibe, and
I see. Okay.
And so just look for that, you guys, or go to the website, go to vibe.me, www.vibe.me, and you can check it out there, because you can just you can just click through and download it there. Oh, my producer says, okay, The Vibe, found it. He was wanting it for himself. That's awesome.
Great, you did a great job.
Messages from him.
You did a great job. You really, I have to talk to you about your being marketing for us. You're fantastic and genuine.
Oh, thanks. But I need to do that for myself, right? Because we can always market for other people better than we market for ourselves.
Isn't that funny?
So funny.
I know.
It is. Well, Steve, we have about a minute left. I just want to say thank you so much for being here, and I really appreciate you and your partner. Her name is Jarl, right? Is that how you say her name?
Yeah, perfect.
Jarl.
Yep, Jarl. Yeah.
And I really wanted to say thank you for following your intuition and bringing this beautiful tool to the planet, because so many people need it. And I will be sharing about it because I think it's awesome. I'll be sharing it with my kids. I'll be sharing it with my hubby and my friends, just saying this is something to really bring you into mindfulness, to keep you in a new state, to get you into a place of a new habit of retraining your brain and keeping you in a higher vibration so you're more joyful and peaceful. So I thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
I will be your walking PR. So thank you once again, you guys. The Vibe app, look for it on Google and iTunes. It's The Vibe, or you can go to Steve's website at www.vibe.me. Thank you, Steve, and we appreciate you so much. You guys, same time,
Likewise.
Same place next week. And don't forget to catch us on Facebook, our Tuesday Live on Women Leaders of Love. We have a Tuesday Live, Facebook Live every week, 8:30 in the morning, Pacific, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, but you can always catch the replay. And we're always talking about things to help you love yourself so you bring more love on the planet. And then we'll see you here same time next week. And I thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye, everybody. I'm Terri Britt, and this is Leading with Love.
Thank you for listening to Terri Britt's Leading with Love. Tune in each Thursday at 12 noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. To learn more about Terri and to check out her books, programs, private coaching, and upcoming speaking events, go to terribritt.com/radio.